So, you know when people say they're going to do something hardcore, they say they're going to do it like it's their job? Like, I'm going to start going to the gym like it's my job. Well, when I decided to start online dating, I decided to online date like it's my job. Only it kind of is like my job because I work in human resources as a recruiter, and I've learned that recruiting and dating are pretty much the same thing. You want to know the same basic principles about the person. First of all, why did you leave your last position? Second of all, if I called your references, would they have good things to say about you? And finally, what skills did you learn at your last position that you are going to bring to this position? So in order to recruit for my open position, I posted on several dating websites because one is never enough. And I created customized searches to kind of weed out the undesirables. And I created my email rejection templates. Very similar actually to the ones I use at work, only I tweak them slightly to say something like, "Dear so-and-so, thank you so much for your email. While you have many of the qualifications I am looking for, I am no longer taking more inquiries at this time. So thank you so much for your interest and best of luck with your search." So another aspect of dating that's like interviewing or recruiting is the ability to size somebody up in a relatively short amount of time. So if you're interviewing someone, you have about 30 minutes, and I can usually tell in about 10 if they're good for the job or not. When you're on a date, you have about an hour. I can usually tell in about 5 minutes if I'm gonna like the guy. A time I knew within 5 seconds I wasn't gonna like the guy was Jersey Shore boy. He's exactly what you're thinking. He had like the slicked back hair and like the big muscles and the orange glow, and I walked into the restaurant and I saw him and I was like, not my type. But we're on the date, so here we go. So we're sitting there at dinner and he's kind of like slinked back in his chair and he's like looking me up and down and he's like, "So, you like working out?" And I don't like working out. I have never actually owned a gym membership in my life, and I told him this, and this look of disgust came over his face. And he was like, "Really? Because I have an ideal weight of 182 pounds. If I don't weigh 182 pounds at all times, I just don't feel right. So like if I wake up in the morning and I feel heavy, I will run until I'm back to my ideal weight. And if I wake up in the morning and I feel light, I will eat chocolate cake for breakfast." What am I supposed to do with that? I mean, my look was, as disgusted as probably his face was at me, and I knew at the end of that date that I was not going to need one of those email rejection templates. It was shortly after that that I met Perfect on Paperboy. Now, Perfect on Paperboy met many of my qualifications. He went to a good school, check. He was gainfully employed, check. He met my height requirements, at least 2 inches taller than me, check. Things were looking good. So we're out on our date and we're talking and we're finding more and more things in common. I mean, he likes foreign films and I like foreign films, and he likes to go out to eat and I like to go out to eat, and he likes cats and I like cats, and what normal guy likes cats? And I was getting more and more excited, and then there's this kind of lull in conversation, and he looks over at me and he says, "So, do you like me?" I was like, you can't ask that on a date. That's like asking on the job interview if you're going to get the job. So we're going back to the metro and we're going down the escalator, and he kind of like slinks his arm around my waist. And that is when I realized that we are not on the same page. And I was like, oh my God. And we're getting down to the bottom of the platform, and he's like saying bye, and he's like going in for the hug. And I realized that he is going to try to kiss me on the platform in front of all of these people. And I'm realizing this in kind of like a slow motion effect as he's getting closer and closer, and he's like coming in, and I'm like freaking out in my head until I finally blurt out, "Are you really gonna do this in front of all these people? It's gonna be awkward." And he kisses me. And he stands back and he looks at me and he goes, "Was that awkward?" I was like, yeah, my train's here, so I kind of gotta go, so thanks for the date, and I'll talk to you soon. And I jumped onto the metro and I sat down and I thought to myself, I'm gonna need a new email rejection template for this guy. So after that, I was pretty disheartened. I mean, when perfect on paper boy doesn't work out, I mean, what are you supposed to do? So I started thinking about what happens at work when the candidates I think are gonna work out for the job don't work out. And that's when I realized that's when you go with the non-traditional candidates. And for the dating world, this means maybe expanding my location preferences from like 25 miles to 100 miles. And maybe looking again at the guys with like the receding hairline. And religious preferences, I mean, I kind of wanted the same religion as me, but at this point, I mean, who cares? Throw in the pagans at this point, for all I care. So it was after that that I met Think Outside the Box Boy. Now, for Think Outside the Box Boy, I had to relax my height requirements a little bit and overlook the pictures of him at the Star Trek convention on his profile and just go with it, right? We actually didn't work out in the end, but he was probably one of my most successful relationships to date, and so I did learn a few things. One, it's a lot harder to recruit for myself than it is to recruit for other people. And secondly, I can't treat this like it's my job because making the snap judgments about people don't really work when you're trying to find like a life partner. And so I just realized I have to give it more than 5 dates sometimes, or 5 weeks, or even 5 months, because I have to make sure that I'm getting to know the person and make sure that they're really right for me or not, because this is the most important position that I'm ever gonna fill.